intro here. Set up for Java programming. Because there's a fair amount to set up, in a way I really prefer being at home. Besides, I said in today's class I was wearing a mask, so I'm always wearing a mask. I'm trying to avoid infection. But when I'm actually either using that podium, well, podium machine, extremely limited, one built in computer lab, and even the laptop machine has the department laptop. It's not as flexible as my home machine. The setup is a fair amount to do. So 3 things over here that I'll talk about. First thing, from what I see, this part for this course, you do have to install Java. IntelliJ in itself originally had to install Java because it didn't include it. And then they said later on they're aiming to have another version where it's included in there. I don't know if they actually implemented it or not, but for this course you need Java, and you need to be able to run your programs outside of IntelliJ for a little part. Beyond just this course, it's a good idea to learn how to run your programs, understand that process outside of one IDE. I mean, it'd be awful, for instance, if, say, you went to a job interview. This is really basic, so it'd be really awful and they wouldn't hire you if they said, okay, well, what they could do is they could test you on concepts. Write an advanced concept, something more advanced than a list, something called a tree, which is an advanced form of a list that does the following, and write it in Java. And they say, okay, go. And if you say, well, we don't have IntelliJ, I only know how to run things through IntelliJ and write, that's going to be really awful. The real test is to write the tree, but if you don't even know how to start up a Java program without your clicky IDE, it looks horrible. So it's a good, and some teams only use, say, a command line type approach. So what should you get? You should get the Java development kit. There's different, if you look at Sun, it's a little bit of the confusing side. Development allows you to write programs. That's what the D stands for. It also includes, of course, the ability to run programs. The reason I stress that is because it's possible that if you look at the wrong link, and I have a correct link here, is it no setup? No, this is a setup one, but I have a download link later. You might actually just install this. It'll allow you to run Java programs, but it won't allow you to create them. That's obviously the problem. They have that, they separate that ability because there's Java at one time was actually was used a lot with web pages. You go to a web page, Facebook used it, for instance, and you'd be running Java programs to implement some of their capabilities, basic Facebook, not their apps. I don't know if, say, the wall or the, whatever they call it, the equivalent to the wall where you get the notifications of what people are doing, that notification list when you log in, what your friends are doing, it's updated in real time. And you're not clicking refresh. To do that, they need a program. And what a lot of websites would do, would they use Java essentially to be able to get that, in this case, say they did it in Facebook, get the information of updates from your friends' accounts and then display it in real time on your page. And Sun separated out the runtime, running of that Java program, because someone who goes to a web page like Facebook or some other page isn't going to be writing Java programs. So they had the ability, in addition to this runtime environment, something called a plugin. Well, they have plugins now, but it was running Java programs only through the browser. That's why they separated this out. So get the JDK. The other thing, what you're going to have to do is set up your, oh, someone's up. Stick up your hand, please, because I miss these things here. What's someone asking? Download date. No. I said JDK is separate from IntelliJ, so you have to get JDK from Sun. I actually have a link here. You should get JDK separate because I'm not sure if IntelliJ includes Java built in, or it looks at your computer. The way I saw it, it looks like on my office, it looks like it's looking for where it's installed. But the other reason I was just saying is that you should be able to, you have to, for this course, learn how to run Java outside of IntelliJ. So you have to install it. And there's a download link I have. Okay, so you have to set up your machine. To set up the machine, I have basically one link here. It's an official link from Sun, and you can find additional ones. I had to do it just in my office machine because it didn't have Java installed. You have to do 2 things. You have to set up your operating system. Bare minimum, you have to set up the path. The path basically is used in your operating system. The path is an example of where the path is used is where when you have installed programs, and say I have a command line open like this, and say I'm trying to, right now I'm in the directory right here, and there's path. Word isn't installed here, but if I run to one word from this directory, the path tells me, the path is part of the operating system that says exactly where word is installed. The path is the path. One characteristic of path is it indicates where programs are installed, so I can access them from any directory. So what you're going to have to do is with JDK is after you download it, you're going to have to indicate to the operating system the path for where you installed it. So try to remember it when you install it, what the location is. It'll be, I think in Windows, it's C program files, Java, and then some subdirectory. If you don't have it set up, then when you actually, I'll talk about this here, Javac, this is running the ability to create Java programs. Right now, it had the documentation. I actually didn't use it correctly. I'm supposed to, whoops, let me clear the screen here. Javac. I'm supposed to indicate the file where the Java program is. So right now, it's telling me how to use it properly. Because it's telling me how to use it properly, that means I set up the path. Now, the intuition behind it is I am going to have my Java programs different directories. I should organize it. So whichever directory that I'm in, the operating system has to know where Javac is installed. That's to create Java programs. You can think of it for now as C for create. It actually means something else. It means compile. The class path is another thing specific to programming in Java, where you will implement classes and you'll implement them not in one folder. That's really disorganized. You should not do that. It's going to muck you up for IntelliJ if you do. Well, no, it could muck you up for IntelliJ. The class path indicates the operating system where to find your classes. So you could have, for instance, if I have my machine, if for instance, I put them as subfolders of week 1, I wouldn't, but that's where I currently am. Maybe I have C work and they're subfolders of work. Then I can say the class path, look and work in all the subdirectories. That's the gist of it. So path is where to find your installed programs, Java. Class path is where to find your code. And you can find, this is an older one, but it's a correct one. You can find many resources how to do this for various operating systems. And in Windows, for instance, they changed it significantly. Yeah, in a way, the changes are better. They make it harder to really screw things up. In the olden days, if you screwed it up, your computer, in theory, could malfunction. Git. So again, IntelliJ, two instances I've learned this. IntelliJ is finicky. If you don't, it's almost like with a Mac iPhone. I have an iPhone, so I'd see this. With an iPhone, if you don't do things the way the Apple developers envision, they say, we don't support that. So you have to do things the way they do it. And essentially, a lot of people get third-party products. With IntelliJ, if you don't do things the way they envision, you can have pretty nasty errors. Here's an example one. And just, what was it? There's another one I encountered already. Yeah, I was late yesterday. I was up until the wee hours because of another IntelliJ thing. But I found the workaround for it, so you don't have to worry. So one of those quirky, annoying IntelliJ things potentially is this. It didn't affect me for all operating systems. I installed IntelliJ and Git on multiple machines. It didn't apparently have that problem in Win 11 for me, but be safe, do it this way. And there might be a way of fixing this, but if you don't do it in the order, but the quickest way I found was rather than trying to find solutions and clicking here, clicking there in IntelliJ, is just to install, uninstall, reinstall. IntelliJ. So IntelliJ is a tool kind of like the PyCharm, where I used IDLE and 231. I use both PyCharm and IDLE. There are other tools as well. It's not the only one. It probably is used quite a bit in industry, so learning it's not a bad thing. But what you shouldn't do is use it like a crutch. You can only write Java programs with IntelliJ because the team, if you're doing Java programming, the team that hires you may not use it, for instance, or they might just go essentially the command line. Oh, yeah, I didn't close command line. So you have to not only be comfortable using command line and running debugging programs this way or other ways. So again, for this class, you can use what you want, but if you run into problems, you may be on your own. And JDK, so for this class, actually, he said that he repeated this, but he said it in different ways. This is where he strongly says that if you're doing it through the command line's not through whatchamacallit, through IntelliJ, that's this. And in order to do this, you have to have one, JDK installed. Two, you have to configure at minimum the path. If I didn't configure the path, it'll say, when I try and type that command javac, it'll say no such command found, unless I actually go to the folder where javac is installed. Okay, so how to use IntelliJ? This comes from Professor Hudson. He already created it, but see, notice I cite the source, and it shows the exact steps. So I'll just quickly show you how to do this. So you start at IntelliJ. There's more than one way of doing this. So you can go to project, let's see, project. Oh, these are existing projects. New project. Everything has to be in a project. A lot of these IDEs for Java actually do this. So you can't just write code outside a project. And that was the IntelliJ annoyance that kept me up. And finally, I found a working solution. So you can put it in a particular location. Right now, I don't really care. Actually, maybe I'll put it in a different location here, so I know where these are and it's not making a big mess. Good grief. Okay, so test examples, and I can get rid of it when I need to. Usually should give it a good name, say for assignment 1 project or something else, at least. Let's see. So far, it's not too, well, yeah, see, there's a bit of a time delay that I wouldn't have running it through the command line here. Questions so far? I haven't done too much yet. Gideon, go ahead. Lower your hand if you got the floor.
Isn't this PyCharm, not IntelliJ?
No.
Doesn't it say PC in the top?
Let me see if I started the wrong one. Maybe I did start the wrong one. Hang on a sec here. Hell. Maybe. Okay, maybe I did start wrong one. Up late at night here. Thanks. Let me try something in there. IntelliJ. I have it configured with my different account, so I might have gotten around. Okay, hang on a second here. What the hell is it? JetBrains. Okay. Try this again here. Thank you. Okay. Might have been. Perhaps the interface looks very similar here. I have a default code created. Let's go this again here. So new project and it PyCharm also. Let me try this again. Okay. Very similar interface. You can put this in different location. 233. Oh, yeah. Oh, 233. And I cut out test for now. Okay. Okay. Yeah, maybe you're right. Because normally, one thing it does is it creates starting code. Now I'll get rid of this stuff right here at this point for now. In terms of Java syntax, I stress this note, bare minimum, what you have to have a program that fulfills syntax requirements is all this stuff. However, the class name is up to you. You should give it a good name. Let's say driver starting execution point. And your main method has to be exactly like this. It has to have all these keywords. It has to take these arguments. It seems like a pain, and this is enforced in the syntax. But on the other hand, because it's a common convention, you don't have to explicitly call main. And in fact, if you call main outside of this class definition, you're going to have problems. So that's one benefit of IntelliJ, is that you don't have to keep typing all this. And as you just saw, I can start editing the program here. Now, if I take back what I previously had here. So now it actually comes with some code. This printf is one way you can, it's kind of like the print. It's a little bit wordier in Java than Python to be able to do an output message. And we have a loop here, but I'll get rid of the loop. And over here to run the program. Yeah, there's the progress bar. This is where I might go. Yeah, there it is. Must have been. Okay, now I installed with this user account, but it's actually a good thing I can show this here. Over here, this is actually a good learning lesson. Didn't show up today in today's class here like this. Let's see if there's any errors here. Okay, this morning there's some typos because I used my laptop and put in extra characters. See clearly, this is a good learning lesson here. The keyword class is there. You all see it. What's the error message? This is the one that comes in that ordering with the get. It says, I don't have that keyword. What a stupid error message. This is a good learning lesson. This is precisely this part here. If you don't do it the way they envision, and they didn't tell you anywhere during this process, you're hooped. Well, there's probably some way of fixing it, but it's not worth learning that trivia. Otherwise, however, when you run it, you'll get the output of the program here. So that's the basics of how it works. Now I'm gonna have to go through reinstall here for, I guess it's on a pre-user account because my other main account, my personal account on my computer, I did run some programs. So it's on a per user account. So I'll be running it through the command line. This is a good learning lesson because there's a bit of a glitch here. It shows this error makes no sense. I have that keyword here. And during a meeting with the 3 profs, I showed them this and they're, what the heck is this? And I finally had to show them like a screen share. See, I have that word. And then Professor Hunt, well, he just sort of troubleshot and thought, well, okay, we fiddle around with the repository part of it because we have version control. It was turned on. He said, well, did you install in this order? And that's where I kind of, oh, okay, uninstalled, reinstalled, the problem went away. Now, however, this is worth something because the other approach, segue here, if there's these annoyances with IntelliJ, if it's too slow, and you saw how long, it just had a print statement, and it took a fair amount of time to come up with that error message. Under 233, test examples. Looks like I didn't save it. Okay, so this is the one that IntelliJ automatically created. It has a hello and welcome, and it has that loop that I deleted here. So doing it the other way, outside of IntelliJ or outside of anything, there's other development environments. You can use a editor. I would just use a simple text editor because some teams do it. If you can code this way, then you can code with IntelliJ. This is a little bit harder, but it's far from impossible. In fact, the last time I taught 231, I actually said, this is how I personally created all my examples. So I tested it. And I said, this is how we're going to, in terms of support. Whichever, it's just a text editor, Notepad, WordPad, but you have to save it not as text, but .java. That suffix is syntactically enforced. Okay. So I have it in that location. Save it. The name of the file, syntax enforced here. The class name is main. The file name is main.java. The two have to match. And that's actually good style. Object-oriented programs, we didn't force this on you in 231 because it's actually hard to have your program split into files. You have to import it, even if it's in directory. This is actually a style convention. So save it. This matches this. Fine. Put it in a location that you can find, because when you save it here in this editor, what you're going to have to do is open up a command line and navigate to that location. So I'll clear the screen so we have less gibberish here. Right now, this was in 233 test examples. So I can navigate. Fortunately, the command line stuff that you had to learn in 231, the basic syntax is the same in other operating systems. So CD still works, ... a level above. So I bring myself up to 233, and I should see dir is the equivalent of ls, the rough equivalent, although it doesn't have as many features as ls, to see the directory. So I said an example, dir, I'm using Windows commands here. And I can go, it tells me that's a directory, go into test examples. Because if I try and compile right now, this is the contents of directory. It doesn't have main.java. That main.java is in another location. See, it's under test examples. I don't believe it has the ability to look in subdirectories. So when you type javac, that's to create my Java program in some form, in more detail on that. It's looking for something called main.java. By default, it'll look in that current working directory. And I don't think it has the ability to look in subdirectories, but I could be wrong here. Let's see. No. See? It can't find it because it's in a subdirectory. So I have to navigate to that location. There it is. So what I'm doing here is I say navigate that location, whatever operating system, whether you're on Linux, if you're on a Mac OS, you use the terminal, it'll be Linux command likely. I'm not using Windows commands here. Check the contents. That's just to make sure two things. One, that you're in that right directory. You'll see that main.java, and that you did, when you created, if you create your own program, it has that .java suffix. It's required by the syntax. Then, what you're going to do is I'll get into details of what this involves. The first step is creating a program that can be, a file that can be executed. You didn't have to do this. Oops, let me get rid of this. I have a .class file here because I actually created it previously. Let me get rid of it. It's going to create that .class file. So now I type in java, main.java. Oh, yes, I care what's happening. Oh, wait. Last name's main.java. Oh, okay, I typed in too much. Oh, wait. See if application. What is the new error message? Let's see. Did IntelliJ add some extra crap to it that's mucking this up? Nothing that I see obviously that's wrong here. Quickly, what the heck? I'll create it all from scratch. IntelliJ probably added something extra here. It ended in text here. Change the suffix to Java. On my computer, I configure it so that Notepad, public class, has to match the file name. And these curly braces are necessary. The curly braces, indenting is not required, so the curly braces tell me what is the body of main, what is the body of the class. Oh, what the hell? Accepted if annotation processing. Something's a little funny with JDK here. That's a little different. At least to I think I know what's happening here. Doesn't hurt with troubleshooting. I bet because I'm using my work account here, you might need admin access. I noticed this in the office. So this is actually worth something here as well too. In the office, it's a university build machine. So it's like the podium computers, very restrictive. It's even more restrictive than this. Let's see what happens if I try this. No. They're even more restrictive. If I try and type this other program, Java, it says it violates policies. So what I probably need is admin access because I'm merely typing this away and running this with my other account, James Tam, on my computer here, which it could be admin access, which is an issue, by the way, if you run your programs with Python. So it's likely the admin access. But when you're typing this, Okay, I see your hand here. I'll just finish this off. I'll have to give my work account, whatchamacallit, min access. You do 2 steps, and these steps, what you're doing is typing this in here. If you have syntax errors, and that wasn't really a syntax errors, what happens is you'll see the error message, and it doesn't create that class. In this case, let's have a look, see here. It wasn't a Java syntax error that was an issue, but it didn't produce any new files. What it's supposed to do is it produces a file that matches. If I type javac main.java, it produces main.class. The second step that I have to do is this produces a new file. To run that file, to run the program, the equivalent to see me saying Python program name, that's the second step. This is translating it essentially. I'll talk about this into some other form. And then what you're doing is you're running this translated form here. It's being translated into a binary form. So this is the overall gist of what you're doing when you create and run programs, both ways. So aside from little things where they're tightening up the security on some operating systems, when you might have this issue with macOS, I'm not sure, where you probably need a min access, it's actually not too bad. And you have far fewer quirks when you're running your programs with JDK. This is Java Development Kit. That's the JDK. The disadvantage is you don't get the extra little tools to tell you, look, if you have a syntax error here, for instance, you just get the command line. IntelliJ gives you nicer. It'll actually highlight where the problem is. So you need both. Sorry, who was that question? Patty, I think it was. You lowered your hand a bit, or did you type in chat? Oh, okay, you typed in. Did I type an extra C in a file name? No. Main.java. See, there's no extra C here. I see an extra. Someone said I had an extra C in the file name. Oh, maybe I was typing it. Javac main.java. Maybe it's that. Typo. Oh, okay. Typo I didn't see that. Thanks. Let's try another way. Typo the main.java. Oh, there. I guess you're right. Sometimes you can make these small typos and not see them. This morning class, my laptop the little mouse pad kept adding in characters. So now we get the main.class. If we want to try and view it, thank you, Hattie. Now, if we click on it, Windows doesn't have an association with it. It's in the binary form, not a human readable text form. This project. Right now it's looking for TXT, so it doesn't show up. Notepad. See all files. Oh, where the hell is it? Oh, test project. Here it is. So main.java, I've already shown. Main.class, it's going to show us gibberish. It's a binary type file that's not text. The second step here is with the main.java. We have to run it. It's in binary. It's not machine language, but it's not a human form. And now to run that program, we type Java. Whoops. Yeah, main. And it has a message, and it's running the body of loop. Looking at main.java again. What we have is, see, this message appeared. And then essentially it's a loop that counts from 1 to 5, but we'll talk about loops later. If I get rid of this stuff, comment it out, documentation, give you an early preview. Multi-line documentation is like this. Angle bracket, star, angle bracket the other way. Now if I run this, however, so the commenting out means just like commenting out in Python. So now I've commented this out. So what I ideally want to do is have the hello and welcome occur. So I'll review what we've done here. Main.java is the Java instructions. Main.class essentially is translating it into binary that's getting closer to machine language. And then that final step, Java main, is I'm translating from that binary to machine language. Got it so far. So now I've saved the .java file. And if I try and run that program, anybody have a prediction what I'm going to see for output? At least roughly, you don't have to trace it. Okay, there's two possibilities. One possibility is I still have this message that is not commented out. It's executable. So one is I just see the hello and welcome. The second possibility is it apparently ignores my commenting out, and it's going to display the I equal to. It's going to count through the loop. So anybody have a thought? If I type in right now, Java main, I'm running that translated. This is translated to main.class. If I just run main, the class file, how many of you think that it's going to display just this message? Raise your hand without this. Raise your hand here. Okay. Second possibility. Oh, okay. So here. Okay, one person thought it'll just display this one. Okay, good. Thank you. Second possibility. How many people think when I type in this and hit enter, it's going to display this as well as all those eyes? Raise your hand if you think it's the second case. Okay, significantly more. One person in the first case, and maybe about a quarter class in the second case. The rest of you are too shy or not sure. So here's the answer. That one person was right. Good for you. I know what the answer would be. Why? You could make this mistake yourself, so I purposely did this. Can anyone explain? See, I commented this out. Why this stuff still appeared? Okay. So you could make this mistake yourself. You edit this and then you run the program, but you forgot one thing. It's a two-step process, so people screw this up. One, you have to translate what's in that main.java to the main.class. See, what I just did was I just ran main.class. I didn't translate it. You forgot to translate. I forgot to translate it on purpose so that main.class 341, it hasn't been updated yet. If you look at the time date, see, I edited at 343, but this .class hasn't been updated. I needed to basically translate it again. You see that? I'll show you once more here. I have done this mistake numerous times as a student. So over here in this file, see, I commented out. So right now it's saying only execute that hello and welcome. And the time date when I made that edit is 343. But the main.class is the file I'm running, 341. I have to update it. So I have to run Java C again. And now that translates main.java. And we run. Now we've updated main.class. There we go. See, now main.class has been updated. The thing is, I am not running Java code. I translate that Java code to class, and then I'm running what's in the class file. Using a command line helps you understand the process better, and we'll talk about this more. This is actually a basic programming concept when you do the translation process.